Well, my wife's my first reader, and I always get really nervous when she reads, and she read Annihilation in the car down to a conference in Orlando. And at that point, I didn't know what I had. I thought, well, maybe I've written something that's basically 55,000 words about 4 women walking in the woods, and that's it. And so I'm driving, and she's reading, and I keep hearing these exhalations of breath and this, oh my God, and a couple of swear words every once in a while. And they were all, I was looking over at the pages, and they were all at the beats and the progressions where I was hoping readers would go, oh, or wow, or whatever. And so by the time we got to Orlando, I was pretty happy. I've been wanting to write something set in a more real-world setting for a while. And so sometimes I'll just kind of put that thought into my brain and let it just kind of settle. And one night I was very sick with bronchitis. I woke up and I had this dream of this tunnel into the ground and these living words on the wall. And I wrote that down, and then I went back to sleep, and then in the morning I had the whole story. And I just, for about 6 weeks, it was the most incredible thing. I just woke up, wrote about 5,000 words, went to sleep the rest of the day, woke up, did the same thing or revised, and in 6 weeks it was basically done. And about halfway through is when it all clicked in as to what certain things meant, what the overall story structure was. I also know that in the nightmare that I had when I was walking down in the tunnel, that the words started to get fresher on the walls, and I knew that it meant if I turned the corner I was going to see whatever was writing them. And it was the writer part of my brain that said, you don't want to see this because if you see it you'll never write the story. I watched a lot of Kubrick movies because I think there's a lot to be gained from film beyond the idea of beats and progressions and like action scenes or cutting, but things that are happening in the scenes. And so for both Annihilation and then the book after it, Authority, I looked at movies like The Shining. I looked at basically all. I basically looked at all of his movies. I also read a lot of nature poetry, but you know, I also had a lot of real life experiences out there, like jumping over alligators on the trail and being charged by a wild boar that wound up making it into the book. Yeah, we got charged, me and a friend of mine got charged by a wild boar from about almost 100 yards away. It started running at us, and of course, first of all, we don't know if it's actually charging us or just running towards us. But when a boar charges you from that distance, you have a long time to think about what you're going to do. When I finished the first book, I knew that for the novel to have integrity, there was a lot that needed to be explored that was going to cover other books. And originally I thought it was going to be 4 books. And then over time, as I got beyond knowing what the central idea was and what all the different permutations of the plot and the characters would be, then I realized it settled into 3, which was kind of strange because, you know, sometimes you'll see a trilogy that's kind of a trilogy to be a trilogy, and it just kind of naturally settled into that, which is kind of strange. But the second book actually goes into the secret agency that's running these expeditions into Area X. And so the first book's an exploration of Area X. The second book is an exploration of the Southern Reach, that secret agency, which is almost in some ways just as weird as Area X. And then the third book pulls threads together for the culminating scenes and gives you a lot more insight into characters you thought you knew very well, but there may be things about them you didn't know. About a year ago, my agent called me and said, guess what? I said, what? We have a movie deal. And I said, with whom? And they said, Paramount Pictures. Okay, great. Scott Rudin Productions. Oh my God. Yeah. Right. So basically what they're doing now, I believe, is looking at screenwriters, and they're also wanting to see the third book, which I still have it in the dev edit stage, so I want to have it as perfect as possible before they see it. For them to decide exactly how they want to proceed in terms of the movies. So, well, it's really strange because, I mean, it absolutely has. First of all, FSG is, I mean, when I saw all the plans they had for it and what their vision was for it, that was as beautiful as like a perfect novel structure, first of all. So there's that. Then there's the experience of writing the second and third books and living in that so intensely for so long. They were tight deadlines, but the fact of the matter is these are the first novels that I've written that I was 24/7 on them. So the amount of time spent was basically the same as on the novels that took longer. It was a more concentrated experience. And that was interesting because I had to find all kinds of ways to gain perspective on what I was doing in a short period of time. And then I knew that I had my editor at FSG as a safety net if anything went horribly wrong. And I'm actually really, really proud of the second and third books. I think they really fulfill the promise of the first one. So.